probably seen people online making tons of money from food delivery apps like Doordash and UberEats, but I wanted to test it out myself to see how much you can really earn from this side hustle. So I decided to run an experiment. For the next 7 days, I'm going to be maxing out the UberEats app. Now you see, Uber has a policy that you can only work 12 hours per day before you have to take at least a 6-hour break. So that's what I'm gonna do, an 84-hour work week. How much will I make? Can I even complete this challenge? Let's get started. It's currently day 1, and I started the day by filling up my gas tank. Now I'm gonna be driving in Orlando, Florida. More specifically, the greater Orlando area. This includes Winter Park, Oviedo, downtown Orlando, UCF area, Disney, Universal, pretty much all over. There was also a promotion going on today. You get $5 extra by completing 5 trips, and of course I completed that. I went to the mall 2 different times to go to the food court and pick up to-go orders. I did get 3 cash tips that totaled $27, and this was really cool because I've never received a cash tip before while doing Uber Eats. Now, before I started this challenge, I completed about 100 deliveries, so I would say my experience level was moderate. But I expect after I complete this challenge that I'm literally going to level up. For day 1, I completed 33 trips. I worked 12 hours and 40 minutes. And something I found is despite Uber Eats' 12-hour limit, if you accept an order before that 12-hour mark, Uber Eats will let you complete that job before making you go offline. I made a total of $203.84. It's currently day 2. It was a little slower today, but that's to be expected since it was a Tuesday. I got to see my first ever ghost kitchen. And a ghost kitchen is basically a restaurant that has no waiters, no dining room, but you could still order food from there. And the ghost kitchen that I went to had 23 restaurants that operated within the same building. I shopped again using the Plus card at Walgreens. Someone ordered a ton of chocolate. Basically, you sign up for this card so that you can accept more Uber jobs, because some jobs will require you to go shopping. But an important note here is that Uber pays for the purchases that you put on the card. And then they ask you to upload a receipt to verify your purchase. Overall, I completed 27 orders and I worked 12 hours and 20 minutes. Plus, I got a $5 cash tip. So the total gross revenue was $166. It's currently day 3. I started my day with a car wash, and then my first order was actually a package. I felt kind of like a UPS driver. Now, I did the deliveries today a little different. I was much more selective with the jobs that I would accept. I used the $1 per mile rule. Now, this is pretty self-explanatory. For example, let's say an order pops up showing that you're gonna have to drive 4 miles. Well, that order should pay at least $4. And if it doesn't, if it's less, then don't accept the job. The highlight of the day was delivering in the Disney World area, and also the Universal area and International Drive. I love being able to explore. Orlando rocks. My total earnings was $182.79. It's currently day 4. I started out the day by getting some gas, and I realized that I'm spending about $23 per day in gas. Luckily, I use an app that gives me cash back whenever I go to the gas station. I spent most of my day near Universal Studios. Today was also another great day of tips. Someone tipped me $20, a few people tipped me $10, and I received 2 separate cash tips that were both $5 each. But the main thing I focused on today was staying within the surge areas. Guys, I'm pretty tired. I've worked 50 hours in 4 days. Oh, I bought a plant today. That was pretty cool. It's currently day 5. I had to pick up 2 deliveries from downtown, but there's a 5K going on, so there was road closures. Because of that, I had to park really far away and walk to my locations. Plus, while I was walking, I made a friend. He was a goose.
Want to play a game? All right, maybe later. Maybe next time.
And at the end of each day, I would click the button that says, thanks for the tip. In total, my earnings from today was $190.06. It's currently day 6. I did a little bit less driving today. I took a mental health break because after working 60 hours in 5 days, I started to get pretty severe driver fatigue. I also learned a hard lesson today, and that's because one of my orders actually spilled all over my seat, so I had a huge butter stain. I had to pull over, buy dish soap and sponges, and do my best to scrub it out, but it still left a stain.
I am never gonna financially recover from this.
I earned $107.64, and I completed 13 deliveries. And since I only worked half a day, I'm gonna drive Uber on Monday to supplement those hours. It's currently day 7, and my first order was a pickup from the Apple store, which blew my mind. I'm starting to realize that Uber Eats involves more regular deliveries than you might expect. While I was at the mall, I saw this really cool Pokemon vending machine, and then the rest of the day was pretty standard. But I decided to take another half day because I'm going a little crazy. My earnings from today were $139.49. It's currently day 8, and it's a little slower today. There's a lot of $2 orders that are coming through, but as you know by now, I'm not accepting any of those. I worked almost 8 hours. I made 16 deliveries. I got another cash tip. This time it was $4, and I earned $114.89, and that includes the cash tip. Oh my God, I'm so glad this challenge is finally over. I grinded so hard. I worked nonstop, back-to-back jobs. I drove across town, maximized every second that I could. And technically, I didn't complete 84 hours in 7 days, but I did do 84 hours in 8 days. So I would say that's still a win. Now, let's talk about my earnings. In total, I made $1,285.04. 627 of those dollars came from tips, and 46 of those dollars came from cash tips. Now for gas, I spent $178. So my net earnings after gas expense works out to being $1,106.77. So on average, I earned $13 per hour. I drove a total of 1,449 miles over the course of this challenge. And that's a lot of miles. I could have driven from Orlando all the way to Texas, and those miles depreciated my vehicle a total of $161. Other expenses include an oil change, which I'm gonna have to get soon, which is about $60. I'm also gonna have to get my car seat shampooed after that one spill, and that's $25. And towards the end of the week, I noticed my vehicle is probably gonna need an alignment, which is around $75. So with those expenses factored in, my hourly rate drops down to $9 per hour. But the real kicker here is taxes. And since this counts as self-employment, you're gonna wanna set aside about 30% for taxes. So was it worth it?
No, God! No!
There's so many factors when it comes to how much you can make from these delivery apps. Your location, how many miles per gallon your car gets, and the gas price. Now here's some pro tips that I learned from driving this 84-hour work week and completing about 200 deliveries in that time. The first tip is you're gonna wanna get one of those car mounts for your phone. And these can range anywhere from $10 to $20, but it makes life significantly easier. The second tip is you should apply to Doordash before you apply to Uber Eats, because Doordash is quickly taking market share, and more people are choosing to order on that app over Uber Eats. The next tip is that if you get accepted for Doordash and Uber Eats, and maybe even Grubhub, then you could do something called multi-apping. And it's when you have 2 apps open at the same time, like DoorDash and Uber Eats, and then you only accept orders that are the highest paying. Let's say at least $2 per mile, or even $3 per mile. Another great way to make more money from these apps is driving when there's a promotion or quest going on. Let's say Uber Eats has a promotion running, where if you complete 10 orders, they'll give you an extra $25. That's a real example of a promotion that I had about a year ago. Now, they don't run promotions as frequently as they used to, but they still have them. So if you see one coming up and you're free that evening or that afternoon, then I would say that's the best time to earn more money from delivery driving. Whenever I would leave the message telling the customers that I left their food by the front door, I would also ask them for a good rating. And the reason for this is because the same screen that they can rate you is where they can also add an additional tip. But here are some cons from this side hustle. In most states, other types of commercial driving prohibit working more than 10 to 11 hours per day, or a 60-hour work week, because it could lead to more fatal car crashes. There was one order where I was standing outside of a Checkers, and I heard the huge collision right next to me on the street. I saw the cars that were damaged, and it really got me thinking that the more time you spend on the road, the higher the likelihood that there might be a crash. Another downside is that if you're choosy with the jobs that you select, and you only take the highest paying ones, then Uber will punish you by hiding upfront addresses. Now, once you accept 3 orders in a row, they'll show you upfront addresses again, but I still think this is really crappy of Uber to do, because let's say you're delivering food to a high crime rate area, this could be dangerous. So on that note, I would recommend that you carry some form of pepper spray or a pocket knife just to protect yourself. I was concerned for my safety a few times. And the last huge downside is your vehicle depreciation. There's a Reddit post that explains this really well. They say most of the money you make is directly extracting the value of your car in small amounts at a time. And that's true. Just a quick note is that you're gonna wanna keep track of your miles, your gas, any car washes or vehicle repairs that you do, because you can write those off on your taxes. So even though food delivery apps are a good way to make some quick cash, it's really not a sustainable side hustle. But if you're able to multi-app and only choose to accept the highest paying orders, it ranks pretty decent. It's a decent side hustle in the short term. Honestly, if you're looking for a side hustle, there's a ton of places that are offering $15 an hour as starting pay. These include Wawa, Nike, Aldi, IKEA, Target. Plus, as a W-2 employee, you're gonna pay less in tax. Anyways, guys, if you have any questions about Uber Eats, make sure to ask me in the comments. I'm gonna do my best to respond to every single question. Also, this challenge was so intense, so if you enjoy videos like this, go ahead and make that like button turn blue. It helps out the channel a ton, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you're gonna try Uber Eats as a side hustle, well then, good luck with the grind. Uber Eats 84-hour challenge complete. Let's go.